This is Shaun Sport in podcast form.
Well, it's a huge weekend for football in Australia this weekend. We've got the A-League Grand Final, getting emotional because we know the Perth Glory aren't in it.
No, they're not.
You can watch the game, by the way, between Melbourne City and Central Coast Mariners live from 5 p.m. on 10 Bold in Perth or 10 Play in Paramount Plus. But this is what I'll be watching. Manchester City versus Manchester United in the FA Cup final on Paramount Plus. Simon Hill, well, we know he's the doyen of the round ball game in Australia. Simon, this is going to be massive.
I hope you'll be watching both.
Yes.
Come
No,
on.
the Perth Glory
With
aren't
his
in,
commitment.
Simon. I'm not.
No.
I don't
We're very
care for the other
partisan
teams.
here.
You know, you know what we're like in WA.
Okay. Do you not watch the AFL Grand Finalist if a West Coast team isn't in it?
It's got a good point. That's a really good point.
I'm going hard on the drinking games then, and of course, who's going to win the Norm Smith? We've got to have a bet on that.
Yeah, it's a big day for football tomorrow.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got the Grand Final, as you mentioned, and then the FA Cup Final to follow that. Manchester Derby, first time it's ever happened in a final at Wembley. It did happen in a semi-final many years ago, 2011. I was actually there for that one.
You're a City fan, hey, Simon?
I am, yeah. And we won that day, so I hope we're going to win again tomorrow.
So I'm worried for the greater city of Manchester.
Oh, God.
Whatever the result, there's going to be some disappointed people. Have we fireproofed everything? Is everything going to be okay there?
Well, I mean, most United fans aren't from Manchester anyway, so...
There's a dig.
How much is a flare to buy?
That's a good question. Simon?
Flares?
Yeah, how much is a
I
flare?
think you've got plenty of those over in WA, haven't you?
Yeah, to be honest, I've never purchased a flare, nor have I known anyone
Shaun,
that has purchased a
Oh,
flare.
you've
got a boat?
Boats. No, I don't have a boat, Natalie. I have not had a boat.
But you're
for a long
Googling
time.
for one that's about $250,000.
My friend's boat. I told you, and I'm not going to give him up.
Okay, interesting.
So that's two stereotypes we've done in the first 3 minutes.
Yep.
That's brilliant. Good
Yeah,
stuff.
I know. We're on
looking
fire.
at flares
aren't we?
about $89 for 3
A
pack.
flare?
When do we get onto the Aussie rules stereotype?
Yeah, very
but
shortly.
that's quite expensive. Like,
Well, they are supposed to be just
so that's $90
emergency
for how
equipment.
many flares there, Harry? How many
It
flares?
looks like you'll get a couple of inshore, maybe a couple of offshores as well.
So two big ones.
Parachutes.
two
Well, you
big
won't be
ones.
able to take them into Wembley Stadium, but I'll tell you
Right.
what, Simon, do you know what the price of those tickets would be going for, as you're saying? These are the two... Oh, mate, this has never happened before, Manchester United, Manchester City in the FA Cup final.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the price of the tickets are. I'm not a ticket agent.
Do you want to know how much flares are? We've got the answer, just
I
saying.
thought there'd be an article
are we
about
talking about a pair of 70s flares here?
Or what can you tell us about the game then, Simon? It's going to be a ripper, obviously.
Well, I can tell you about the actual football.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I do.
What? What do you?
So if you want to ask me about the football,
Yeah.
What do you want?
yeah.
Can City win the three-peat? Can they do all three?
It's not a three-peat, it's a treble.
Treble, sorry.
So they've just won the Premier League. If they win the FA Cup tomorrow, they play in the Champions League final, which is the biggest club game in world football, next weekend against Inter of Italy. And if they win that as well, then they'll have won the treble, which is the first English team to do it since Manchester United did it in 1999. So United have got double reason, really, to want to try and stop us tomorrow. City will start the favourites. They're the best team in the country, probably in world football at the moment, to be honest.
Yep.
But because it's a derby, because it's a final, because it's at Wembley, you never know. And as I say, United have had a good season as well. They won the League Cup, which is called the Carabao Cup. They've qualified for the Champions League. If they win the FA Cup as well, which is the oldest trophy in world football, then they'll feel as though they've had a pretty good season, and they'll have stopped City from winning the treble.
Of course,
Yeah.
that's big news.
Simon, it might come as a shock to you to know that the only football that I've watched over many years is Welcome to Wrexham and Ted Lasso. Now,
The
Well,
documentary.
let me tell you something. You've watched more football than I've watched Aussie rules. So
Oh, there you go.
Hey,
There you
so
go.
did you get into Ted Lasso? The last episode just
Yeah.
came out. Did
I
you get
watched
into it?
no.
No, why?
Well, because I watch proper football 7 days a week. I don't need to do the pretend stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, what did you think about Wrexham? About watching that whole process of the guys buying the club?
Well, look, I mean, it's garnered worldwide publicity for them, which is fair enough. But let's be honest, if they weren't owned by Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, we wouldn't be talking about them. So
Yeah.
it's all about Hollywood. And look, I get it. Sport these days is a lot about celebrity, particularly in Australia. People love it. But in terms of the football, it's a good story because they've been down in non-league football for many years, and they managed to get promotion to the actual football league. So, it's just the start of their journey. They could go all the way to the Premier League, theoretically. That's the great thing about promotion and relegation, which is what we need in this country.
That's true.
Simon, that's the first time I ever learnt about any of that was by watching Welcome to Wrexham, because I didn't know about the pyramid and relegation. I didn't know any of that.
Well, You've never heard of promotion and relegation?
No.
He's not a sports fan.
He's not a sports fan. So, and it really interested me. And I don't think anyone...
I can't believe there's people out there.
Hey, mate, can I ask you some Star Trek questions? I've heard you can't answer them. Everyone's got different likes, mate.
Well, Simon, do you think that's going to happen in Australia? I mean, that'd be the outcome that everyone would look forward to, the relegation setup, promotion?
Look, it's a way off, but we're about to set up a national second division, which will be a tier that operates below the A-League, and ultimately the aim is to have promotion and relegation. And it's great not just because it gives aspirational clubs the chance, like we're seeing with Wrexham, to move up that pyramid, but it also provides really interesting end-of-season games at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
Because you're not just fighting 4 titles or 4 places in finals. You're fighting against relegation. And that would give our players a harder edge. Obviously, more opportunities for players, coaches, administrators, dare I say, broadcasters as well. But it would provide, really interesting end-of-season matches with a lot riding on them. So I think we need that sort of jeopardy in our competitions. It would be our point of difference with the other codes who don't have it and probably never going to.
Yes.
So I'd love it.
I think it's super interesting because when you're down on the bottom like Wrexham were, you don't get any money. Yep. No players want to play for you. And then you're sort of stuck. So it's...
And then the fairy tale situation.
Yeah, and then a fairy tale situation like that happens. I don't know. I just think the whole thing's super interesting.
Luton Town's one team that's gone through that fairy tale. But I will say this on the national level, though. Having a second-tier national competition, WA don't have a team in this for next season, Simon. Is that correct?
Well, no, unfortunately they don't. There were 1 or 2 that applied, but unfortunately they didn't meet the criteria. And, clearly that was going to be difficult for teams from WA because geographically you're so isolated from the rest of the country. So financially, it makes it very, very difficult, to be able to compete. I would have loved to have seen a second-tier team in from WA, but maybe we'll get it in future years once it's up and running. It's not set in stone once it's there, and hopefully we'll not just have promotion and relegation one day from the A-League to the second division and vice versa, but also down even further into the National Premier Leagues, which would in future years become the third tier of football in Australia. So. That's what we mean about an interconnected pyramid. Clubs can move up and down. Yeah. As the old saying goes, investments can go down as well as up.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I like to get mine go down. Simon, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to watching. Paramount Plus, I'll be certainly dialing into. The FA Cup final is one thing they want to see. Manchester City, Manchester United, and of course, Melbourne City and Central Coast all on the weekend. Thanks, Simon.
Good on you guys.
See
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Yes, we certainly have the governor in town. It's always good to see his smiling face. He's only weeks away from return. It could possibly be next week, Gov.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I'm hoping to play some minutes possibly next week.
So this could be waffle, though. We can't get our hopes up.
Yeah, it could be. We're just going to wait and see how everything else pans out, who else is coming back and all that sort of jazz. So, but it's exciting. The light's at the end of the tunnel.
I had a smart football question just before, didn't I, when I was talking to Gov? I was asking if you knew the people in the waffle, because in my imagination, you don't know any of them, and you're walking in there going like, oh, here he goes.
It's the Waffle Eagles, Nath, and a lot of those guys have come from an amateur background just to make the numbers up.
Yeah. So how do you know, so you know them, yes?
Yeah, the boys are in, I just said before, normally at least once a week.
And they'll come and train with you guys?
Yeah, some will come train. It depends on their work schedules and how it all... Yeah, of course. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'll have some boys at training sometimes, some boys at captain's run and weights, and you're always brushing shoulders with them.
And Shaun, that never happened when you were playing?
No, because I was dropped to East Fremantle.
So there were
and
no
coming back
aligned
through
clubs back then. Yeah.
So before, there was none.
So you would rock up and would you know these people in the waffle
No,
room?
you go around and have to introduce yourself. And I remember when I was playing league footy just started, it was the same. Chris Waterman, he came down, he got dropped from the Eagles, and Muddy comes down and he's got to walk around and introduce himself.
Hand.
I'm like, shake it,
really?
Chris Waterman. Yeah, oh my God, he plays the Eagles. So that was wicked. I've got to ask you on that thing. Do you know? So these guys who are coming out, if you're playing league football at East Fremantle, for example, you might get paid, I don't know, $300. You might have a thing in your contract, $300 a game. The West Coast would have to pay these guys in a certain level.
I've got no idea, to be honest. I think our parameters are a lot less than most other waffle clubs. I think that's the challenge for us as a club. I'm assuming.
Can you go around and ask them individually how much money they're making?
Yeah, I will. That's a frequent question everyone likes to ask me.
Someone knows. Yeah, well, we know it's already publicised, so we're fine with that.
Read the papers. It's completely
and then
accurate.
add a zero, probably.
How many people do you bring up your pay with you?
Well, you just brought it up then.
I would never.
No. Oh, too much.
It's
All the
insane,
time,
isn't it? Because it's one thing you don't ask people, and they feel like they can just go up and ask.
I don't agree with it at all.
No.
Some things being publicised, but in sport internationally, old mate Beckham signs on, and we all know he's getting paid $100 million.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I guess if you're getting paid $100 million,
You want people to know. Hey, you know what I mean? Up yours.
Yeah, you'd do anything for $100 million, wouldn't you?
Anything.
Now, what about the new
Don't look at
kid,
me like
Ryan
that,
Marrick? Have we met him yet? Have you met the new guy?
No, I haven't. I shot. We had a day off yesterday, so I shot him a message, and I'm looking forward to meeting him this morning. And I'm sure he's excited. He got in last night, so yeah, it's great. It's all. I think the mid-season draft's been
It's
great.
a bit of fun, and I love the way that it's always reported the job they were doing. So he was stacking shelves. They needed us to know that he was stacking shelves, and then he got the call.
It's great. I was a plumber. I was 2 meters deep in a hole when
in
I
a trench.
Out. I was digging.
So you had finished your apprenticeship, or
no, I hadn't finished it, and I couldn't have walked out quicker.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
So I was in a hole, and the tradie was an apprentice, and he was just punching darts the whole time, yelling at me to dig this big hole. It was huge.
Because as a plumber's apprentice, that's pretty much what you
that's
do,
all you do is do that and play with poo. So lucky I was just in the sand, but I got a call from my cousin saying that I got drafted.
From your cousin.
Yeah,
That's
and I was
really
like,
funny.
all right.
And what did you do? Just drop the plunger and walk off?
I literally jumped out and said, "Oh, mate, that's going to be me." And he's looking at me like, "What do you mean?" He said, "We got to finish this off." I said, "Nah, that's all yours, mate. It's a shovel."
You know how much
There's
I'm going
half
to
a
make?
Grogan hanging out the pipe.
I kicked a bit more dirt in there for him as well. I said, "Go on, mate, enjoy that."
That's great. So what number did you go in the draft?
I was in the rookie draft.
Yeah.
The second last pick in the rookie draft.
Yeah, right,
pick
okay.
44, I reckon I was.
Right.
Yeah, so I didn't really have any idea I was going to get drafted.
Okay, so 44. So second last pick. So did you think it was over? You thought, nah, it's not happening.
So the draft happened.
Yes.
So
You
the
weren't
main
really even
draft,
following
and
it.
then
Yeah.
It used to be like 2 or 3 weeks later they did the rookie draft.
Yeah.
The
So
So I was
slots,
like, I didn't get picks. It's all good. And
you
then
just let it go and just moved on with
Went
life.
back to digging your hole.
Yeah, I was moving on.
Yeah.
I was thriving in the bottom of a hole in the plumbing industry. But and then got a call randomly. I only met with West Coast once. Is
that right?
They gave me a couple of calls, and I was in Bali on a boys trip for a couple of weeks.
They drew a line through you.
With the footy club?
No, just with a few mates. And
Yeah.
then I come back and my phone had blown up. I was like, oh, what's going on here? I called them. It was West Coast. I said, want to have a meeting? And they said, have you been training? And I said, I'll be honest, I haven't done a thing since I finished. I've been in Bali for 3 weeks. And then it was like they just pretty much said you got a lot of work to do. If we pick you up, and I said no, of course I do. I've got heaps to do. And then that was the end of the conversation. And they said we'll see what happens at the rookie draft. And I wasn't even watching it. I didn't even know. And my cousin called and said you just been drafted.
Oh, so
How amazing.
Fremantle, did they speak to you, Gov, through that process?
No, never spoke to Freo. West Coast was the only club I spoke to.
So no other club showed any interest in you?
No, like you get these like letters. They send you like a letter out
Yeah,
to
they
say
do.
like they're sort of interested
Oh,
and
really?
just keep going well and we'd love to meet at the end of the year
Yeah,
and all that
and then
sort of
they
stuff. I got a couple of those, I don't know, maybe Hawks, I think.
Yeah.
And
One
North
from
Melbourne.
someone in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a pen pal. I get it.
Yeah, and then that was it. Yeah. So yeah,
And
I
look
was
at
pretty
you.
lucky.
You've forged a pretty good career. You've done
I've gone
all
all right so far.
Yeah.
When
It
you
is
found
interesting,
out,
isn't it?
who was the first person you called when you found out?
I called my boss. It's my Uncle John, actually. He was I love my Uncle John, don't get me wrong, but he was pretty hard to work for sure.
Yeah.
But I called him and let him know and said, sorry, mate, I can't work for you anymore. And he's straight away, old business head, he goes, well, can you do night work? And I was a young kid. I was thinking, far out. Jeez, all right.
Night plumbing.
Yeah. So I called the club and just said, look, my boss wants me to do some night work. And they just said, no, he's dreaming. Give us his number. We're calling him.
You're a professional footballer now. That's so funny.
Is night plumbing a thing?
There's after hours stuff.
Oh, okay, right. I didn't know if there was like a whole industry of night plumbing.
Well, he was worried about losing an apprentice. I'd imagine I thought I was a pretty good apprentice, so I can understand why he was worried about losing.
Yeah, can dig a hole.
Well,
he was just trying to find hours for me. He's like, well, if you finish at 3 o'clock, you can come in for another 3 hours till 6 and do some work.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was like, far out. I'm hoping not. But
I imagine you called your dad pretty soon after that.
Yeah, Dad,
He was pretty
parents.
wrapped?
Yeah, they were pretty wrapped, of course.
No. His dad was angry because he heard from Uncle John. What is doing to the business?
But everyone was stoked. I was a bit blown away. The whole thing was pretty surreal. So it's a good time though. It's an exciting time.
Yeah.
Amazing, Gov. This game that we're about to see, Collingwood versus the West Coast Eagles, you mentioned something off air, and I totally agree with you. That is, I believe the West Coast Eagles will not win this game, but I don't think it'll be more than 40 points.
It's not going to be a blowout.
Points.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be more than 40 points. So if you're doing your tipping, and here's a couple of things. So apart from the fact that you've got a good record against them, Jamie Elliott's out of their team and still side bottoms out of their team. So two dynamic players that will really have an impact in those games.
And if we can lock the Dacos brothers in a stairwell, that'd be great.
It was improved performance last week, and you can only think that having those players he had back, which is Elliott Yeo, Tom Barrass and Shannon Hearn, will, again, take a step forward and enable you to play more of your own footy. Yeah,
we're hoping. That's what we're hoping. We're not just fully relying on those three boys. Of course.
Of course.
We want to play good footy regardless. But those boys definitely helped for sure. And we've seen some really good signs last week. It was good. Our review was a bit different to the week before. The week before was an ugly review, and it was
pretty grim.
Everyone sort of have a look at themselves a little bit. Where last week's or this week's review was
a lot more positive.
Yeah. What can we actually work on here? We had some opportunities to score and put some scoreboard pressure on. I think we ended up with more inside 50s than
you did.
So that's great signs for us. And as much as we didn't win, there's some positives we take out of it, and hopefully we can take that into this week.
And hopefully you're back soon.
Yeah, hopefully not too long.
Yeah.
Are you burning up the track at the moment? You're running full pelt?
Yeah, yep. Burning it up, Shaunie. Absolutely ripping it.
Are you running full tilt yet?
Full
sprint?
Pretty much, yeah. Just a touch off full sprint.
Yeah.
But, everything, all the speeds. That's what we do.
Would you say your pace is electric, or where would you stand?
No, I think it's unassuming.
Yeah.
I'd say unassuming.
When I run, mine's unnerving.
Good on you, Gav. Have a ripper.
Shaun Sport is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcast.com.au.